So I created this channel a few years ago, and if you've seen any of my earlier videos, you've heard me describe some of the pain and trauma that I experienced from being raised with a mother with undiagnosed borderline personality disorder, or BPD. And a really important first step in my journey towards healing was acknowledging all of that pain and recognizing how unhealthy the relationship with my mother was. But the last thing that I would ever want to do is further the shame and stigma that already surrounds the BPD diagnosis. So, today I want to talk about having compassion for people suffering from borderline personality disorder. And notice that I say people suffering from instead of borderline people. Um, and I know in some of my earlier videos I said things like my BPD mom, when I feel I really should have said my mom with BPD. Because I do feel that it's important to put the person first and the diagnosis second. So it's possible to have love, compassion, and empathy for someone with BPD um, without condoning hurtful behavior. And this is called love with boundaries. And I cannot stress enough how important it is to have strong boundaries that protect your own well-being. Um, but it's just not necessary or helpful to be hateful or bitter towards people with BPD, even if someone may have hurt you very deeply. So I think it's important to understand where BPD comes from. It comes from trauma. A person with BPD has likely suffered some form of abuse, whether it be, physical, sexual, or emotional. Um, and when we experience trauma, it gets stored in our bodies and our minds, and it has a huge impact on the way that we think and behave. So a person with BPD who's experienced extreme trauma growing up, they develop certain defense mechanisms to try and keep themselves safe. And ultimately, these defense mechanisms end up being super destructive, but it's just a way that our mind tries to protect itself from pain. I would really characterize BPD as an attachment disorder because it stems from early attachment wounding, and the crux of the disorder is really the inability to relate to others in a healthy way. And it's a very difficult road to be someone who carries around so much pain and unhealed wounding and who does not know how to relate to themselves or to others in a way that isn't destructive. If you're close to someone with this disorder, it can be really painful for you as well. Because one, they might do and say things that are very hurtful, and two, it's kind of impossible to be around someone who's in that much deep pain and not suffer yourself. And I know for me, growing up with my mom, and still, it's the hardest thing is being a human being with an empathetic heart and feeling how much pain she's in and watching her as she self-destructs and burns bridges and kind of ruins any real chance at happiness. So if you have a person like this in your life, you need to first and foremost take care of yourself. And do this through whatever boundaries are necessary. But there's no need to harbor hate or bitterness. We don't need to demonize people with BPD. And ultimately, if you're harboring that kind of resentment in your heart, it's only gonna hurt you. So let that go, because it's in your best interest to have love and compassion instead. And if you're someone with BPD, it's also so important for you to have compassion for yourself. You can't hate the darkness away. Um, and, it's important to acknowledge your inner demons, which, by the way, we all have. And it's important to hold yourself accountable for your thoughts and actions, but you also need to have patience and compassion for yourself as you work through this. Learn to love yourself, because that's all you've ever wanted. You've only ever wanted to be loved. But it starts with you, so, and you can do it. And, you know, this inner work stuff, it is not easy, okay? Shit is tough. But we got this, okay? We got this. So, yeah. I don't know how to end videos. Yeah.